blown bottle sonority a quality of strain and aroused ahead of itself nostalgia for bodily abidance, pervaded and could be seen on the skin of all those within view. Seen with such acuity, it seemed one could taste it. Sad scientific foresight gave skin a spiked philosophic savor, virgin science a newly provident salt, laboratory sweat. Here and there, the few who heard the blown bottle sonority pinched or scratched or otherwise touched themselves, rubbed an arm or a leg or massaged a wrist, newly apprised of their body's unarrestable transit. The strung sky mourned an insistent furtherance it was also an exponent of. The risen power grit-given scratch had been taken to, fond Empyrean scrub. The sound, faint and frail as it was, sharpened itself on skin and sky alike. Mimicking flesh or proposing a model for flesh, the sky too got a scoured look, wiped and rubbed with an abrasive agent which gave it a close-to-the-bone burnish, buffed ipseity, high-strung strop. Faint, increasingly fraught, blown bottle sonority kept close to the water and, once ashore, close to the ground. It could well have been a broom, so sustained and adonant was the sweep it advanced. It grazed the ocean and the shore with an aspirate slide implying meek persistence, a readiness to sweep them clean of water and sand, lose itself in the effort. Such willingness to indulge futility compounded the press of grainy transit imbued on the sky in the eyes of those who heard it. Its futile willingness or wish to sweep sand and sea away notwithstanding, it proposed itself as a potential coat, a protective cover against vain endeavor. It was an inoculative indulgence, it turned out, meant to ward off undue expectation. This had to do with the ascetic scientific tack Jabouche, had his bottle borne a note, would have expounded, been an exponent of. As it was, he found his ostensibly no-note approach complicated by the sonic sweep which bore him and balloon ashore. The blown bottle sonority's willingness to indulge futility warned against a willingness to woo frustration. It was nonetheless hard to know how to read it, implicated as inextricably as he was. Indulgence as anaesthetic omen bore a mixed message which further mixed his own. This, he was beginning to find out, was what being in a test tube meant. Volume 4, Base Cathedral. I'll read what I guess you could call the title track. It's the first of the letters are dated, and they're stuck back in the early 80s. But in Volume 4, there begin to be letters that are dated dateless. And this is the first of those. And it has to do with a feeling of being outside of time, as N writes in this letter. Dear Angel of Dust, there are stretches of time that seem outside of time. This is one of them. It has to do with seasonality, countered expectations of seasonality, the not only normal departure of LA weather from the wintry scenes associated with Christmas, but the more than normal departure we've been experiencing the past 2 days. It's been unseasonably sunny and unseasonably hot, even by local standards. Temperatures in the 90s, the sky all but without smog, there having been enough wind, if that's what it takes, or enough, if not, of whatever it takes, to blow most of what there was of it away. Now, though, there's no longer wind or even an inkling of wind, the air eerily, ominously unmoving. It's what, especially farther north, they call earthquake weather. The air and the sky have a burning bright but oddly muted intensity to them, as though their apparent forthrightness were no more than apparent, deceptively clear. This makes for an even greater sense of displacement or dislocation, of things being out of joint, multiply out of joint. It's as though we were not only out of step with the season, our own as well as the holiday season, but had migrated north, if not stepped outside of time, seasonality, altogether. In the latter respect, it's as though we'd migrated south or been visited by a region farther south, unexpectedly hosted a Mesoamerican visitation. It's as though, that is, the 5 leftover days at the end of the Mayan year, the 5 dangling or dateless or stray, orphaned or unlucky, rogue days at the end of the year that are not really, in a sense, a part of the year, a part of time, had arrived early, ahead of themselves, ahead of time, landing us outside of time. Everything's odd, a bit off, curiously shadowed by syncopations not of time so much as of brightness, light, as though brightness or light turned its head or turned around to inspect itself, turned to catch a glimpse of itself, catch itself off guard. Brightness or light, possessed of a darkling wish, wants not only to enable sight, but to see itself so enabled, more than simply conditioning sight. In so doing, or short of doing, wishing, it induces a waver, a wrinkle, a fold in the accoutrements of sight which, even so induced, shears or shades over into undoing. Spinning my wheels? Maybe. But that's what I'm talking about makes one do. It makes what appear to be waves mount like rungs of a ladder, a ribbed, etheric lake at what appears to be asphalt's end. At rehearsal today, it crept into our music. We trudged up a hill beyond which to talk. We trudged up a hill beyond which to walk was to accept that light fell unequally on the world. Chiming rungs, which were synthesizer strings, bore us over. Our acceptance of light's inequality implied prismatic recompense, insisted on it, made it our own. The earth was unequal light's jagged consort, a coarse cut and haggard pursuit. From somewhere beyond or in back, that is, a synthesized aura sought instrumental extension, sought more to be played than to preside, it seemed, 8 or 800 years into the future, 8 or 800 years after the fact. We were trying to make it home or to heaven, hoping to make them one and the same. We were trying, at the very least, to make something happen. A synthesizer keyboard lay before and in back of us, each key a chromatic step we took. Then, too, there was the extent to which the we was in question, albeit as close as our very breath. Lambert's audible exhalation etched an aspirate sigh. In so doing, it exacted of each of us an answering susurration it was all we could do not to be whisked away by, borne through the wall we thereby embroidered. We, with the churchical wall, he not so much wailed at as blew the dust from, a particular cloud and a kind of clemency, the grit of what we knew would pass. His aspirate sigh, which we made ours as well, was meant not to conceive an alternative, however much it did so, or may seem to have done so, but to extenuate the cause that gave it rise. A wall of glass it was of sorts, or in certain parts, a window occluded or colored by aspirate wind's unwieldy arrest, maculate print one may have taken for stain, but even so could not but be moved by the light it let through. All this was abetted by Aunt Nancy's totemic bass, its intimation of an arachno-erotic web, 8-limbed embrace, a we pressed well beyond erotic elegiac snag, as though capture, perhaps, arose only to be obscured if not outrun. No one could not be moved by her up-tempo walk. So, as well, there was the fact that it was, in many ways, a chthonic window, notwithstanding the light and the color it let in. It sat within a wall only recently evolved out of mud, across from an alcove whose cave ancestry was abundantly clear. Bass Cathedral, Jamila's synthesizer keyboard called it, a handle she proffered cautiously given the fall of Hotel Didgeridoo. Even so, color and light were now undeniably synthetic aura, sympathetic trap, a magical mimetic snare cave stain or cave painting introduced us to. A piece or a pocket of time had torn loose, we now knew, a before-the-fact catch or prepossessed capture Bass Cathedral built on as well as wanted to enshrine. Yes, we readily agreed, Bass Cathedral, no sooner ratifying than naming it anew, Bass Calendar. Temple and temporality rolled into one, we saw, insisted, possessed of